So, welcome to the next edition of the Rare Business Podcast. With me today, I have Daniel Lind, who is Head of Business Development for the Qmatic Group across in Sweden, no less. Daniel, welcome.
Thank you, Adrian.
So, Daniel, can you, for the benefit of our listeners and readers, can you tell us a little bit about you and a little bit about the work that you do and the work that Qmatic does?
Sure. As you said, I'm head of business development for this Swedish company that basically provides hardware and software solutions to manage and improve customer journeys, actually. Mm-hmm. And even if we are a Swedish company, we are having representation in more than 120 countries. So we think we are, pretty international by doing that.
But you're not one of these kind of newfangled software companies that's just been around for like the last couple of years. You guys have been around for a long time, haven't you?
Yeah, actually we've been around for 33 years, and it started by what our founder had a problem in his restaurant with customers that couldn't get service. Okay. So he basically started to think about how he can manage that, and that was the origin of Qmatic, actually, which is pretty a fun story.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And the Q is, and that because it's where it originates from. The Q is actually to do with queuing, right?
Yes, it is. It is, and that was the main problem getting a service in his restaurant 33 years ago.
Okay. So now the reason I invited you on the podcast was on the recommendation of Stan Phelps, who's been a guest on the show before, and is a good fellow blogger and a good friend of mine. And he said that you and Qmatic are doing some really cool stuff, improving the customer experience, and especially as it relates to waiting and getting better served. So can you tell me a little bit more about now the sort of things that you're up to now, and how you're helping the sort of results that we're seeing, just so we can make it real? Because I know that I speak to lots of different people that are doing lots of cool sort of stuff, and they tell me about all the technology. But actually, I'm more interested in like what's happening. Kind of what problems are you solving, sort of thing?
Sure. Let me try to, starting with that, basically wherever customers or patients want to have service and there's somebody supplying that service, you have a challenge, both capacity-wise, but also getting the right service, the quality service that get a good experience. So we have solutions for doing that in the physical space, meaning firstly, understanding what the customer wants, and that's pretty easy said, but not always easy done. And taking that, need and getting the right person and right service advisor in front of that customer. Right. And that we've been doing for a long, long time. Now, of course, the customer journey is not only in the physical space. Everybody's talking about the seamless journey and moving into the online and mobile world where it all starts. Mm-hmm. And we actually trying to bridge the gap between the online journey and experience and the physical one, and actually having ways to capture and capture the journey actually before you enter a physical space. So that's what we're trying to do, and we do that pretty well in some cases, I think.
Fantastic. And so I was looking around your website, and I saw that you've written up a whole number of case studies and white papers and things, and there was particularly ones around, and I think this is related to what you were saying. There's particularly case studies around sort of a pharmacy and a hospital where you've been able to help dramatically reduce wait times and operational costs and stuff like that. I mean, those are brilliant things, both brilliant for the customer and also brilliant for the business. So can you tell me more about those kind of case studies and actually how you've done that, how you've kind of melded these sort of the online and the sort of offline sort of experiences together?
Yeah, let me start with that example first, because that's pretty amazing. I think we had roughly a waiting time around 2 hours for this hospital pharmacy customers, and when we ended up, it was down to 15 minutes on average. Okay. And according to our clients, it is basically through our system. And I've seen this system, and what we did, we were looking at the customer journey from the beginning and not just ramming in technology, but understanding it. And the main problem was actually that it was just one journey for all customers with very different needs.
Okay.
So what we did with our technology and with the staff, of course, was to try to identify the needs of the customer and then separate the different journeys into the tracks that fitted. Meaning, for example, if you had a prescriptive medicine and wanted to pick it up, we put you into that journey and with that specific expert.
Right.
And also asked questions. Okay, if you want to have your medicine, have you actually brought your prescription?
Right.
And if the answer was not, well, actually, you shouldn't be in this journey or in this queue. So that, taking out the unnecessary activities or unnecessary customer, which is maybe strange to say, but they were not prepared.
Preempting the problems before they kind of happen.
Exactly, as you in England say, the casual callers or basically. So that was one thing, and then also, just using some of the mathematics behind efficient queuing is that you actually serve the short services before the long services, and by that you actually reduce the waiting time. So it was both separating service, understanding the different service need, and getting them to the right advisor as well.
Right.
If it's a complicated question with multiple diseases involved and complicated medicine involved, then you should have one advisor that is an expert and a pharmaceutical guy that is an expert in this. Mm-hmm. And if it's something else, you should have somebody else. So that's also the efficiency that makes the journeys smoother and quicker, of course.
And how does that manifest itself in I can see how that would work from an online sort of application, as it were. Then how does that work in an offline? Do you do that via sort of screens and kiosk type of sort of equipment?
Yeah. It depends on the environment, of course. In healthcare, well, you can actually have a self-service strategy for some applications, but in some other ones, you do want to have the human interaction with the basic triage through a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just what kind of the choice you make. We can do both, and both has its place.
Yeah.
In one place, self-service is to drive efficiency and empower the customer or the patient by using the technology itself. In other places, you want to have the more personalized service, and you do that through face-to-face meter and greeter, for example. But still, the important thing is to capture the need, because if you do that right in the beginning of the journey, you will have a much more likelihood of succeeding with the whole journey. Otherwise, it's going to be a tough start.
Yeah, sure. And so, is there any other examples that you can share with us that sort of tackled similar, but actually it's not similar, different sort of problem, and sort of the outcomes that you've achieved there, and just to kind of build out the picture a little bit?
Well, I think when we're talking about the online and face-to-face channels and getting a seamless journey, I think we have some good examples from banking.
Okay.
Again, the transactional services is often pushed to the online world to get costs down from banks, but then they have the problems that they do not meet the customers face to face, and by that can't give the right service and actually also sell the product they want. So what we have done with our solution is actually integrating to a mobile banking application. So you do your transactional services through the mobile app, but actually, if you want to have a personalized service and meeting an advisor, you can actually just press the button and find the right office and actually request a face-to-face meeting through that application.
So is that a little bit like kind of if you go into an Apple store, it's a bit like kind of making an appointment to go to see somebody at the Genius Bar.
Exactly.
Ah,
What they do have some problems sometimes, even though Apple is fantastic in many places, is that when you then come to the store, you need to actually not just kind of have the faith that the booking and what you've done previously is solving everything. You actually have to reconnect with the customer when he enters and or she enters the branch.
mm-hmm.
So you actually get the seamless, and you can do that, through using your mobile phone and kind of acknowledging that you're in the branch, and by that getting into the process.
Mm.
Or you can do that through, a self-service station and connecting the journey with a token you got on the mobile, and then go into the process. But the important thing is that you do connect them when you get into the branch, and that is often forgotten. If you have an application and on the mobile, everything will be solved when you get into the branch. That is not really true.
Right. I mean, that's kind of fascinating. But what I guess my question would be about this sort of like stuff is that this has to be a real kind of challenge, a real balance for firms, particularly people like big firms like banks and stuff, when they are trying to manage costs, but also trying to retain kind of customers. Because I saw some stats the other day which said that most banks are roughly around about 35 to 40% of all of their current account holders, or their current and savings account holders, are just not profitable. They don't make enough money kind of from them. So it's like there's a real challenge for banks in that terms of cost and versus engagement sort of ratio. And do you think some of the stuff that you're doing, is that helping to address that? Is it pushing retention and loyalty and increased transactions, number of transactions and things?
I think, by without going to technology, having the connection between the mobile banking and actually getting service into a branch, I think that will make it easier for customers to get into the branch to get service. And if it is easier, it will most likely drive traffic to the branch.
Yeah.
What we know that drives sales in the branch, when you get them in the branch for the right reason, is that you connect the right service advisor to the right customers. Meaning, if I have questions about mortgage, I should actually then, of course, meet the expert on mortgages, which is that goes without saying. But in many cases, that is not process-wise handled well enough.
Right.
So you meet. Well, you meet an advisor that doesn't know who you are.
Yeah.
They don't know what you want, and by that they can't give the right advice.
So the right person at the right time with the right skill set.
So again, if you identify that, and online banking, that's not a problem because they know everything about you. But the minute you walk into the branch, it seems like you're getting anonymous if you're not setting it up rightly. Using technology to find out who you are, if that's through your mobile device or your bank card, and then kind of scan that in a self-service kiosk, and getting all the details to the service advisors so they know who you are and what you want and what you have done previously. Okay. The conversion rate of that, sell, even if it's in banking, and that will go up, and also the possibilities of selling other products, more products, which is extremely valuable. That will also go up if you have the right advice to the right person.
Sure. So, any other examples that you'd want to share with us, just so we have three, because three is the magic number.
I'm actually two very interesting ones, which I can share pretty quickly to make it the same time as one. Then, if you are from US, you know that Department of Motor Vehicles has been a pain visiting. You're sitting there for several hours, getting a new driver's license or registering a car, or whatever it is. In some states, we now have appointment solutions, which does what appointment solutions should do: get the customers into the branch at the right time for the right reason, and smoothing out the workload. So now you're not waiting anymore for several hours. You just make an appointment through our system, go to the branch, get your license or whatever you want to do in approximately 15 minutes and get back. So there are some examples on our website that shows I should say amazed customers because of the rather poor previous experience they have, and now it's like service should be in a branch, swift and easy to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
The other one,
Yeah.
if I may,
Yeah, of course,
is it is a effect that we kind of maybe not thinking about. And our solution have actually in many cases prevented corruption.
okay.
Which is a kind of bold statement, but in some cases we have, and in this specific case, it is from Kenya, where we have put in our system in their service centers called Huduma, where actually instead of then the staff prioritize who they're going to see for what reason, the simple thing that our system does in this case is actually finding what you want and directing you to a service provider or service staff, and then you get the service that you need. And the system makes the priority. The system directs you to a service advisor and not the other way around. So the customer is in control and the citizen is in control and not the staff.
Right.
So they can't control, who they're going to serve, and that, you need to pay some extra to get that service. Otherwise, they're not going to serve you. The system kind of does that for them. So, it's basically preventing corruption as well as getting a decent service, which is pretty interesting.
Cool. So that's fascinating. I mean, any other final thoughts or things you'd like to add? I mean, because in the experience, I mean, particularly when you're talking about specifically, I mean, because I always think that queuing and waiting for service or scheduling service is an area that is fraught with difficulties, because it's an area that is not an area that the business is in complete control of. And it needs to do more of it. I mean, there's all sorts of other sort of factors that are involved in it. But is there anything that, if people are thinking about this sort of area, how can I make it smoother, more efficient, more effective, more enjoyable? What would you say to firms that are thinking about their sort of that end of their customer experience, as it were?
Well, to begin with, I think the physical meeting is very important. Even though everything should be going online, and you can do everything online, especially banking, but you kind of forget that in retail, for example, still 85% of every purchase is done face to face, and it's I think it's crucial that the physical meeting is not forgotten. You see that a lot of budget goes into the online journey and the online experience, but the physical experience and the physical meeting is a bit forgotten. It's left to training staff to be nice,
sure,
and we see that is not enough. Of course, staff needs to be nice and how to act, but there is a place and there's a need for technology to support the staff in how to do this, meaning technology to find out what's your need by choosing a service or kind of using your credit card or loyalty card to identify yourself and get the process right on up until the end.
Yeah.
And especially if you're a large organization, it is a risk that it's only up to the individual capability or lack of capability to deliver great service. You need some support of doing that, and I think that's that will not be less important when doing a lot of online. I think it even more important as if you get fewer meetings in the physical space, well, you better take care of that meeting properly then.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I read something the other day which was talking about how there is going to be a diminishing need for a human sort of, if you like, actually people to play a part in sort of in customer service in the future, or near to middle sort of future. When you think about the advances in AI and wearable tech and Internet of Things and all that sort of stuff, and I just thought about that, and I just thought, you know what? I think I disagree with that, and I think paradoxically, what's going to happen is that as technology advances, I think there's going to be a greater need for the sophisticated human contact. And I just think that's because I think it's going to be kind of man and machine sort of together, because otherwise we end up like a caricature that we read in a sci-fi novel. And I'm pretty sure that's not the future that we want.
No, I mean, some of the services, like the transactional services, they're going to go online, and that's not a thing. But when you want to have some, advanced advice, if that's, about your future economy in the bank, or buying, expensive electronic gear, you do want to have some qualified advice, and that is often delivered best in a face-to-face environment.
Sure.
And again, there's a lot of investment in online, and everybody's talking about the seamless journey, but it doesn't happen by itself if you do not think through the journey from the online world into the physical world in a good way. It doesn't happen by itself.
Sure, I think that's absolutely fair. Anyway, Daniel, in the interest of time, I'm just thinking about it. I'm going to ask you my final question I always ask, and it's this. Is there anything that you would like to shamelessly plug?
Well, without being too arrogant, I know we are in the physical space and customer experience and we are the number one company, and we have more than 60,000 installations around the world. So if you have any doubt about where you're going to turn to, it is definitely to us when it comes to looking at and understanding and developing the customer journey in the physical space and connected to the online world.
Brilliant.
We have more than 2 billion customers passing through a Qmatic system every year. So that says something about our experience and the learning we have from those situations.
Wow, that's there's some big numbers, and that's very impressive. Daniel, I'll make sure that I get this all sort of linked up and put all your sort of details and things on the write up with the podcast. But for the benefit of the listeners, then look up Qmatic, which is www.q, as in the letter Q, Matic, matic.com. That's all one word, Qmatic. But Daniel, thank you very much for your time today. That's been great. Been really interesting, and so thank you. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Thank you.